McAtamney.
Respect
I'm sorry.
your Irish
Jude
kicker, Jack.
McAtamney. I'm sorry. I'm Polish.
Derry, Ireland native. Respect.
I'm Polish.
But I said it before. We're talking about an undefeated team.
Yeah. Okay, here you go. Here we go now. All right.
Another undefeated team out of New Jersey.
The New York Giants.
The shock of the NFL world. The New York Giants are 2-0. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the first episode of Keeping Score with Dylan and Jack for this semester, a daily Targum podcast where we talk about the world of Rutgers sports and the world of sports overall. I'm Dylan.
And I'm Jack.
And today on our first episode, we're going to go over the world of Rutgers football and also talk about the NFL after week 2. So I guess we could start with Rutgers football. It's kind of been, they're 3-0, but it's a 3-0, which you didn't really expect. They played really well against Boston College, got a W. I don't know how many people expected that. I personally thought that game was 50-50.
Huge win.
They beat Wagner, which if they didn't beat Wagner, someone was going to get fired.
And then the athletic department if they lost to Wagner.
The big question mark for me, which they're going into Iowa. Iowa is a winnable game. Iowa has not looked good so far this year. But the way Rutgers played against Temple does not give me any confidence whatsoever.
I absolutely agree. And real quick, before I get into our football discussion, really looking forward to this semester's podcast. We got just me and Dylan today, but we got a lot of guests coming forward. We have it in the works. We'll have writers on, people from around the Rutgers community. So stay tuned. Looking forward to it for sure.
Jack will influence his LeBron fandom on everyone who's on this podcast, I'm sure.
Is LeBron the GOAT? Nah.
Yes.
Okay, so Rutgers football, as you said, Dylan, it's a 3-0 start. Happy about that, right? I think everyone would be happy about a 3-0 start.
Sure.
But it's been unconventional, to say the least. So Boston College, I think that game, if you said Boston College, we're going to win by 1 point, I would say, okay, fine. Like that, I think Boston College is a worthy opponent. I think it's a team that is tough in
That's
the first
a test.
game.
That's a non-conference test.
It's the first game. If it was like maybe game 8 of the year, I would say, okay, Boston College probably should be able to beat them. But game 1 with a team that's very new, very young, it's a big win. And 12 yards, 96 drives, 12 plays, 96 yards to win the game is very impressive. Wagner, that's a preseason game, not counting it. And Temple, we're going to talk about it, man. This is where the unconventional comes into play because we were there at the WRSU meeting. What were all our predictions? 38-10, 34-17, 45-17.
What was it last year? It was like 61-14.
Yeah.
It was a 47-point win.
And I get that, like, teams change over an offseason, and Temple definitely did that. We talked with the Temple News about that. But this team still, at the end of the day, is better than Temple.
We're a Big Ten team, and they are a team in the bottom half of the AAC.
Absolutely.
Like, that is, like... And another thing that makes me, like, really nervous is that, like, we have not been able to throw the ball the first 3 weeks. It has all come on the run, which... And, Greg Schiano is a run-oriented head coach. I'm sure him and Sean Gleason are... calling up a lot of run plays. Obviously the jet sweeps to guys like Aaron Cruikshank, getting Johnny Langan in there, it's helping. But last week they had 57 passing yards total. And what are they going to do with the quarterbacks? Like this week it looks like it might be Evan Simon, which I'm all for. He's looked like the best quarterback over the first 3 weeks. Wimsatt looks still a little too raw to start. Vedral has been injured, but we all kind of know his ceiling, and it's not crazy high, but.
We'll get into the quarterback debate, I'm sure, like in the later part of this podcast, but there's a lot. Sean Gleason's taking a lot of heat. Sean Gleason, offensive coordinator for Rutgers. He's taking a lot of heat this week, and it's somewhat deserving. I think the blandness of the offense was apparent in Temple, and if you run an offense like they did with Johnny Football, Johnny Langan going straight up the middle every single time to win the game, that's not going to fly against a Big Ten team. But he's working with what he's got. And, the reports are saying Gavin Wimsatt's day-to-day, Noah Vedral's day-to-day. You're working with a guy like Evan Simon, who is definitely capable for the job, but doesn't have the same talent or capability as a guy like Noah Vedral or Gavin Wimsatt. And I think on that respect, Sean Gleason does deserve some of the benefit of the doubt because it's definitely a tough situation there. But he should definitely open up the playbook a bit more if he's got more up his sleeve than Johnny Langan just barreling.
Yeah, I think I was reading something this week that they run on first down like 90% of the time, which it's like I understand that conventional wisdom is make the downs more like manageable on first down, but teams are gonna like understand that. Like teams are gonna react to that, and they're going into a game with an Iowa team whose offense has struggled, but they just shut out Nevada. They put up 350 yards, so they might be turning a corner, and their defense is great. Iowa always has a great defense.
I think I was listening to the Rutgers Ram podcast. Shout out Rutgers Ram podcast. I was talking to Dylan about it earlier. Really good. Brian Fonseca, who is a reporter for NJ.com, former Targum member, he brought up that Rutgers ran on first down, I believe 19 of the 21 times. But if that number's not completely accurate, it says the story. I'm all for being a run-first team. I think it's the way to go, honestly, no matter who you have at quarterback, because you got a really strong running back room in there. But then there's also a point where you have to, threaten someone over the air.
I mean, I think they also have a good receiver room. They have guys who can, kind of get open in space. I think Aaron Cruikshank is probably the most polished at any of them. Obviously people were
big playability too.
It hurts to lose Tosh Harris. That's no debate. He was supposed to be a big time transfer from Syracuse. He got injured, but I think other guys like Sean Ryan, Josh Youngblood, those are guys who, if they get in space, they can really make something happen. But you're not really utilizing them. The only one who really gets utilized so far has been Cruikshank, and he's running a jet sweep. Like teams are gonna realize that. You got to be a little bit less predictable.
Absolutely. I mean, that's part of the offensive game, right? You got to be unpredictable to a defense that, it's the name of the game in the NFL. You have to be unpredictable, because when you get predictable, that's when you get more capable of being stopped. I mean, that's why
RPOs are becoming such a big thing.
Absolutely.
Because it makes the game even more unpredictable.
Mm-hmm. And I guess that's a good segue when we're talking about the offense. There's been so much conversation around the Rutgers community about the quarterback battle, and when you're sitting here, obviously going into this week against Iowa, you have Vedral, Simon, and Wimsatt all out. Or not all
no,
out.
Simon's healthy.
I'm sorry.
I think you should...
I misspoke. You have Vedral and Wimsatt both day to day, and Simon's still healthy. So it's a bit of a different situation, but it's been going on all throughout the offseason, going into the season, who you want to start at quarterback. And Dylan, what's your opinion on the ongoing quarterback discussion in Piscataway?
So this was not my opinion week one. This was not my opinion in the offseason. If all three of them were healthy today and you asked me which one I would want to start, it would be Evan Simon. Evan Simon has looked the most complete in these first three games. You know what really made me not really feel that way about Gavin Wimsatt? The interception he threw against Wagner.
Right.
Because I'm sorry. I understand that you're trying to make a big play,
right,
but he was 1 for 7 in that game. And, if you're going to throw a ball downfield against Wagner and throw an interception, the worst team you're going to play all year, what are you going to do against Iowa? What are you going to do against Ohio State? What are you going to do against Nebraska in 3 weeks? I think Wimsatt is the guy who I think unarguably has the most raw talent out of anyone in the quarterback room. Mm-hmm. He's a guy who can get in the open field. He's a guy with a big arm, but he doesn't have the accuracy, and I don't think he has the acumen right now. I think that's something that can be taught to him. Mm-hmm. I think maybe he needs another year or two to kind of, really learn, how to make decisions at a collegiate level, at a Big Ten level. But right now, with the way the two have been playing, I think Evan Simon has earned the job. He's been accurate. He's been smart. I don't think he has a turnover yet. And, I mean, he's done everything the team has asked him to. In a mostly run-heavy offense, I think Rutgers will be hurt the least by playing Evan Simon.
In the words of Stephen A. Smith, I disagree with you, and here's why.
I'm surprised you didn't say that's blasphemous.
That's blasphemous. I should have said that. But I think Gavin Wimsatt's the answer, and here's why. We saw in Nebraska Scott Frost get fired because he was on the knife's edge basically out there. That's not Greg Schiano's situation right now. Greg Schiano, if he turned in the same season as he did last year, he's not going out the door. He's in the process of rebuilding.
He could turn in a 3-9 season and he won't get fired.
He's got great job security right now. He's in the middle of a rebuild, and he's supposed to be rebuilding. And I go back to his comment at the beginning of the season. I believe it was at Media Day. Someone asked, what year does this team remind you of from your first rebuild? And he said, I believe 2004. Now, obviously, the 2006 season was the huge breakout season. They almost made the Orange Bowl, yada, yada, yada. 2004 and 2005 were ramping up into that season. And with that in mind, Gavin Wimsatt's obviously the guy with the most raw talent. He might not be the most ready to win.
I will not disagree with you there.
He's not the guy that I think will give you the absolute best chance to win a football game on any given Saturday or Friday. I think that guy's Noah Vedral. And Noah Vedral obviously hasn't been healthy. So that's kind of a wild card there. But Gavin Wimsatt, you got to get him out there and get on-field reps. He's going to make mistakes. We know that. That interception, I'm not here to tell you Gavin Wimsatt has played flawless so far this year. He hasn't. But he has to make those mistakes. It's part of growing as a college quarterback and becoming a high-level quarterback, the guy that he was recruited to be coming into Rutgers. I think, me personally, because of the situation Schiano's in, if Schiano had one foot out the door and everyone was calling for his job, got to put in Vettel. But Schiano's not in that position. I think you put in Wimsatt, you continue this rebuild, you gain the confidence of Wimsatt, maybe have him play a reduced role because, as you said, our running game's really strong.
I mean, if they're both healthy, you could realistically still do the rotation.
I don't like the rotation.
I disagree that Noah Vedral gives us the best chance to win. I think his ceiling is very low. I think we've seen how he plays, and he has a hard time stepping up in like the big moments. And it's not all his fault. He walked into a program that was probably much worse than it is now 2 years ago. But I think we've seen what we've seen from him, and I think he should be relegated to like a locker room leader. I think if Simon and Wimsatt are healthy, they should get snaps before him. Especially if you're looking at a rebuilding type aspect. Vedral is out in 9 games. He's in his 6th year of eligibility. He will not be in college anymore. Simon and Wimsatt both have 3 years.
I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm sure Evan Simon is a great person in real life. I just think he's third on the totem pole of being in this quarterback room. And
see, I thought that before the season too, but he's proved me otherwise.
If this is how I think, I'm not Sean Gleason, but if Sean Gleason is somehow listening to the Targum podcast, which I hope he is.
God bless him.
But this is my advice to him. You should have Gavin Wimsatt be your starting quarterback. He's going to make mistakes. We know that. I'm not comparing him to this player, but we did see Josh Allen in 2018 and 19 really struggle and get his feet under him in the NFL and then blossom into a superstar. Okay?
I would love to see Gavin Wimsatt turn into 1/4 of Josh Allen.
Listen, Josh Allen is amazing, but I'm just talking about the same formula. Have him go out there, make mistakes. He's 18 years old. Last year, he literally played a high school game in Kentucky.
It's true.
The next week, he was in Piscataway. Like, he is still a actual freshman. He was class of 2022. He's extremely young. I think you take advantage of that. You have him make these mistakes. He might cause a bit of headaches. He might lose a game. But then again, Schiano and Rutgers are not banking on this season.
To be fair,
I'm playing the long game. I'm playing the long game with Gavin Wimsatt.
I understand that, and to be fair, I did mention that interception against Wagner, and I forgot to mention that he threw an absolute dot to Sean Ryan.
He did, but
that was crazy.
He's thrown some bad interceptions. I'm not hiding it.
Some of them
he threw some pretty bad picks,
and his completion percentage has been pretty low too.
Yeah. Look, it's all part of the maturing process, and when we have a maturing quarterback, I mean, compare it almost to Trey Lance before. I mean, Trey Lance, man. Well,
that hits home. That hits home.
Compare it to Trey Lance.
Jack's fantasy quarterback out for the season.
Compare it to Trey Lance, though. I mean, during the first couple games for the 49ers, Kyle Shanahan was kind of trying to protect his quarterback, rely on the strong supporting cast around him. And you think about that with Gavin Wimsatt, you have a strong running game that's proven itself. Kaba Nungai, Al-Shadi Salam, Samuel Brown V, all those guys have been incredible so far to start this year. You lean on that run game, have Gavin Wimsatt play the play action, sometimes make a play, sometimes make a mistake, and I think that's your best play in the long term. Obviously, Rutgers fans want to see wins immediately. They want to see, wins produced on the field immediately. But when you're playing the long game with the guy like Gavin Wimsatt, what if we're saying like 2-3 years down the line, we're so happy that we had him in there in 2022.
That's fair.
Playing all these games, making these mistakes. Maybe he made a huge mistake against Indiana and we lost the game or whatever. But now we're playing 2 years later and we're just going absolutely bonkers against all these Big Ten teams and having a 2006 type season because Gavin Wimsatt got those reps and was able to develop and we let him develop. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't think you're wrong with your assumption that Gavin Wimsatt maybe right now isn't the best option.
In my
maybe
opinion, he's just a little
It's
too
the long
raw.
game. It's the long game for me.
I understand what you're saying. And I think we're harping on the offense a lot. But we also talk about the Rutgers defense because they looked great the first 2 weeks.
They deserve their flowers.
I mean, like, even the secondary, which was kind of a struggle last season. Robert Longerbeam already looks like he's been in the Big Ten for 3 years. He has 2 picks already. Like, Aaron Lewis had a career-high 11 tackles last week. He forced a fumble. A lot of these guys that Schiano recruited in his first class are really starting to really pick up. And, I mean, I think the defense could be I think Rutgers could be like a Big Ten style football team, which is we are going to make it a difficult. It's going to be a rock fight. We're going to throw rocks at you, and we're going to win 10-7.
Say it how it is. We are not 3-0 without the defense.
No, we're 0-3 without.
And
we're 1-2 without the defense.
That might sound easy.
Sans Wagner.
That might sound easy to say, but like this defense, man, like they held Boston College under lock and key, 21 points in their home opener.
And I mean, Boston College also had a guy like Phil Jerkovich, who, like, if you guys have watched this podcast, you know I support Notre Dame football as well.
Mm-hmm.
He's a guy who I saw at Notre Dame who I thought had a lot of potential, and they also were able to not really stop, but they contained Zay Flowers, who was probably going to be in the NFL next year.
Mm-hmm.
So
great player, by the way.
Great player. I really didn't know too much about him before the game, but he's on my radar now.
This week, literally, only touchdown we scored, Dylan. Shaquan Loyal, tip pass, interception. The defense came to play, like, throughout this year. And you could say, like, okay, it's 3 teams that we should have beaten. But even though, it's the same thing with basketball. Like, even though we're playing these teams that we should absolutely hammer, you can take some stuff away. You could say, like, you could say, like, you know, this guy was really good for Rutgers basketball. I think this type of play that he had, although it was against a team that wasn't as good, can translate to the Big Ten. It's the same thing with football. I think the defense and the way they played and the cohesion that they've had, and Schiano being a defensive guy, I think that all musters up to being a defense that can hang around in the Big Ten.
Well, Jack, you know, we've spent the first about 15 minutes talking about an undefeated team. I think we should talk about another undefeated team.
I think real quick, though, before we go over there, game prediction for Iowa. How do you see that game turning out?
You know, here's the thing. I think it is going to be the best atmosphere of the Schiano 2.0 era. I really do believe that Shai Stadium will have 50,000 people in it.
First night game.
It's a night game. It's on Fox Sports 1. It's nationally televised. It's Scarlet out. So if you're listening to this and this comes out before the game, wear Scarlet to the game, please.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that, you know, I really want to – I think the scenario is there for Rutgers to take the game, but I don't think they have all the pieces put together yet. I'm going to say close one. I'll say 21-14 Iowa.
Okay.
And I hate to do that.
I echo everything Dylan said. I think it's going to be an awesome atmosphere. Night game. First night game of the Schiano 2.0 era. Dylan's going to be working. I'm going to be on the field. So it's going to be a pretty cool atmosphere. Scarlet out, like Dylan said. At the game itself, the total points line was 35 points, which is unbelievably low.
That's what I predicted.
Unbelievably
I think
low.
That's pretty fair.
I think it's fair too. These are 2 teams that have struggled offensively. We talked about Rutgers, obviously, and what they've done. Iowa has been challenged on offense also. They scored 7 points in their home opener. Without
a touchdown. It was a field goal and 2 safeties against South Dakota State.
Yeah, so that's what we're seeing right now. If this game is the lowest scoring football game in the country, including NFL, Division I, Division II, Division III, high school, Pop Warner, I would not be surprised. But it's gonna be a dogfight. It's either gonna be really long or it's gonna be really short. Either there's gonna be a lot of penalties, a lot of stoppages, causing the game to go long, or they're just gonna run the oxygen out of the football.
I think the second.
It's going to take about 2.5 to 3 hours. So it's going to be a good game. I can't go against Rutgers. I literally just can't go against Rutgers. It's a Rutgers podcast. With that said, I'm going to be realistic. I think it's going to be a good game. I think there's going to be 1 touchdown score between the 2 of them, and it's going to be – actually, no, 2 touchdowns between the 2 of them. Jude
McTammany.
I'm sorry.
Your Irish
Jude
kicker, Jack.
McTammany. I'm sorry. I'm Polish.
Derry, Ireland native. Respect.
I'm Polish. I'm sorry. Jude McTammany. Game-winning field goal. 10-7. Rutgers gets the dub.
I like it.
You heard it here first.
I like it. Well,
will the student section storm the field if that happens?
100%. I know Iowa isn't ranked, but I do think you also have to remember Rutgers is 0-19 in their last 19 Big Ten home games. So
that's insane.
If they win this one, it's huge. It's huge for the fan base. It's huge for the program. It's huge for Schiano. It's huge for everyone. But
recruits too are going to be there.
Absolutely. But I said it before. You know, we're talking about an undefeated team.
Yeah. Okay. Here you go. Here we go now. All right.
Another undefeated team out of New Jersey.
The New York Giants.
The shock of the NFL world. The New York Giants are 2-0. Saquon Barkley looks like he's back to his rookie season form. The Giants defense looks like it could be a top 10 unit in the league this year. They look dominant. Kayvon Thibodeau and Azeez Ojulari haven't even played yet. Coming back this week, we have a little bit of a podcast rivalry coming up on Monday night as the Giants will play the depleted Dallas Cowboys, the 1-1 depleted Dallas Cowboys.
Dak Prescott, if you're listening to the Keeping Score with Jack Passay and Dylan McCoy, I need you back, man. Missing you a quarterback for sure. Look, I'm happy that you're happy. I'm not happy.
I'm over the moon.
That said, I am not congratulating you on winning those first 2 games.
That's fine.
It's just I can't.
That's fine.
Like, I'm happy that you're happy, but like I just can't get behind this Giants wave that I'm seeing. Look, it was a huge win against the Titans. Absolutely. Brian Dable gets all the credit he deserves for going for 2 in that situation.
In his first career game as head coach, that's my guy. I feel more confidence in him after 2 games than I have in our last 4 head coaches.
I honestly forgot that Kayvon Thibodeau was out. I honestly did.
Azeez Ojulari's been out too.
Yeah, look. You guys have won games. Like it's not that simple. I think the Titans are a team that easily could have beaten you, and you went in there. Saquon Barkley played like a dog. Absolutely was great, and I'm happy Saquon is back healthy. I don't root on injuries on anyone. I'm just wish he was like not for the Giants, but I'm happy to see Saquon back. He definitely looked on a different note. Saquon Barkley looking healthy and looking determined to run is good. It's good for any football fan.
Yeah, even as a Giants fan, as an objective football fan, having him at full health is just good for the league.
Exactly.
It's good to see him.
I mean, I always say this, like, I'm a Cowboys fan. I want to beat the Giants every single time for the rest of my entire life, but I want to do it when you guys are healthy. I want to do. I don't want to beat a team that's injured. It just defeats the purpose. I think the Cowboys can beat almost any team in the league healthy. So, I'm happy Saquon Barkley's doing good, and self-admittingly, I'm not as tuned in with the Giants as you are. So, I mean, how have your rookies been? I mean, guys like Evan Neal. I mean, Kayvon Thibodeau hasn't played, but I've heard good things about some of those guys. I mean, what have you thought so far? I mean,
Evan Neal's definitely looked okay. I think some of the things that we saw about him in the preseason were a little overhyped. He's done a pretty good job. The Giants' offensive line is still a weak point. Dan Jones getting sacked, and part of that's his own fault. I don't really think he's going to get much better. I'm kind of ready for the next chapter. Mm-hmm. But I think one of the biggest additions to the Giants this year has been Wink Martindale. On the defensive coordinator. He's done a really good job blitzing guys. Like Xavier McKinney, I believe, has multiple sacks already out of the free safety position. Like, he's done a really good job. He had him covering Christian McCaffrey last week, and he really shut him down. I think Christian McCaffrey had like 2 catches. Mm-hmm. So I think coaching has been the biggest change. Like, the Giants are definitely still a talent-wise roster that should win like 5 or 6 games, but I think coaching could bring them to that 7-8 win total that was kind of seen as like unfound before this year. But I have belief. For the first time since 2016, since before the boat pick, I have belief. I saw that on Twitter yesterday, and I hope it's the last time I ever
hope so
see
for
it.
your sake, because you're definitely high on your Giants right now. But
absolutely.
To my team, Chris, I hope this is allowed, but I'm just going to do it anyway. We them boys.
Oh my!
We them boys.
You're going to get us a copyright strike. I mean, we don't upload this to YouTube, but
hey, we them boys. Wiz Khalifa said it. Hold on, let him go.
Yeah,
Dallas Cowboys, 20-17, beat the Cincinnati Bengals. Michael Parsons looks like the best defensive player in football.
Beat the 0-2 Cincinnati Bengals, who are horribly regressing to the mean. But
look,
we only got a little time left, Jack. I think we should do our score predictions for Monday night. And
I guess so.
Maybe we can do a little friendly wager off camera, but
maybe. I listen.
Maybe a less friendly wager, but
maybe. But yeah. I mean, I think it's perfect because we got 2 of our favorite teams on Monday Night Football. We don't do this podcast again until early next week, so we'll definitely have our opinions on it. So
we'll have a lot of opinions.
You want to go first, or?
Yes, I do. So. New York Giants have, historically, the past couple of years now played well against Dallas. Dallas kind of had our number. I think that changes this year. I think all the momentum is on our side. Dallas did win a close game, but I think the Giants are going to take it. I think it's going to be a 2-score game. Give me 24-10 New York Giants. I think it's 2 scores. I don't even think it's 1 score.
Okay. Listen, I'm going to say this. Cooper Rush has not lost a start.
Get out of here.
He beat the Vikings and he beat the Bengals.
All right.
So now he's got
We
the
didn't start
Giants.
getting-
Now he's got the Giants. So, short story, he's going to be 3-0 by the end of Monday night. Micah Parsons is going to be Himmy Neutron, as Ron Harper Jr. would say. And
That's a great Ron Harper.
Ron Harper Jr. is an Eagles fan, by the way. I love Ron Harper
South
Jr.
Jersey.
I love Ron Harper Jr., but I wish he was not an Eagles
Well,
fan.
he's from
but
Franklin Lakes, which I honestly don't know where in New Jersey that is.
that's
Sorry.
up north, I think.
Maybe Ron Sr. is from South Jersey? I don't know.
Anyway, Ron Harper Jr. wishing you luck on the Toronto Raptors, but I think this is gonna be a closer game than what you were predicting, Dylan. I'm gonna go because the Cowboys aren't gonna score a whole lot of points. I understand that with Cooper Rush.
No.
It's going to have to be on the defense, and it's gonna have to be Cooper Rush playing mistake-free football again. 17-14 Cowboys. Book it.
Well,
17-14 Cowboys.
agree to disagree. I think you'll be looking like
And
you'll be looking like a sad Skip Bayless on next week's podcast. But
And this is how the game's gonna end. Not gonna be a game-winning field goal like I predicted for Rutgers with Jude McCamney. It's going to be it's gonna be 17-7. Giants gonna score a late touchdown, onside kick. We get it. Kneel ball, game over.
you like being exact. You like being exact with these
I like
things.
being exact.
You're gonna have
It's
to-
like if I give a score prediction, if it's like a 3-point game, like I gotta say
You're gonna have to wear like your
game-winning field
Swami
goal.
hat if that happens next week. But well, we'll see how that happens on Monday. That's gonna be all for today. Join us next time on Keep You Score for more Rutgers recaps, and make sure to follow the Daily Targum on our Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube for more content.